Most people don't feel broke because they're irresponsible. They feel broke because their monthly bills quietly compound in the wrong direction. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly enough that it feels normal until one day it doesn't. At first, bills seem manageable. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance. Each expense makes sense on its own. None of them feel extreme. And because they arrive on different days of the month, they never feel like one large problem. They feel like small, isolated obligations. But the math doesn't treat them that way. When you add them together, monthly bills behave like a fixed tax on your future. Before you earn a single dollar, a portion of your income is already spoken for. That money doesn't get a chance to grow. It doesn't get a chance to help you. It exits your life automatically, month after month, with no upside attached. What makes this especially dangerous is how invisible it feels. Bills don't feel like spending. They feel like survival. You don't question them. You don't renegotiate them often. You simply absorb them. And because they're predictable, your brain stops paying attention to their total impact. This is why raises rarely change people's financial situation. When income goes up, bills quietly expand to meet it. A slightly nicer apartment, a slightly newer car, more subscriptions, higher insurance. None of these choices feel reckless. They feel deserved. But together, they recreate the same pressure at a higher level. Over time, this creates a frustrating pattern. You work harder, earn more, and still feel stuck. Not because you're failing, but because your fixed expenses are faster than your flexibility. Once bills take priority, everything else becomes optional. Saving, investing, rest, enjoyment. The cruel part is that bills don't care about effort. They don't care if you had a good month or a bad one. They arrive on schedule, demand payment, and leave nothing behind. And when most of your income is pre-committed, even small disruptions feel overwhelming. This is the quiet math that keeps so many people running in place. Not poor enough to collapse, not free enough to move forward, just stable enough to stay stuck, month after month. The reason monthly bills feel unbeatable isn't because they're large, it's because they're permanent. Once an expense becomes fixed, it stops competing with your goals. It outranks them. Saving becomes something you do after bills are paid, which means it only happens if there's anything left. This flips the math against you. Instead of your income working toward building flexibility, it gets locked into maintaining your current lifestyle. The moment you commit to a bill, you're committing future income that hasn't even arrived yet. And because those commitments stack, your margin slowly disappears. What makes this especially difficult is timing. Bills are due regularly and predictably. Savings and investing are optional and delayed. Your brain naturally prioritizes what's urgent over what's important. So even when you intend to save, the structure of monthly expenses keeps winning by default. This is also why financial stress doesn't always correlate with income level. Two people earning the same amount can feel completely different levels of pressure depending on how much of their income is fixed. High fixed costs turn even a strong salary into a fragile situation. One missed paycheck or unexpected expense can throw everything off balance. Another subtle issue is that bills don't feel like choices anymore. Once you sign a lease, take on a car payment, or lock in services, the decision fades into the background. You stop evaluating it. It becomes part of life. And because it's no longer questioned, it quietly limits everything else you might want to do. This is how people end up feeling trapped, despite doing everything right. They earn, they pay, they repeat. There's no room to redirect money toward the future because the present has already claimed it. And the longer this goes on, the harder it feels to change, because unraveling fixed expenses feels risky and uncomfortable. What looks like a money problem is often a structure problem. The system is designed so that once bills take control of your income, they don't give it back easily. And until that structure changes, effort alone rarely breaks the cycle. What makes monthly bills so powerful is not their size, but their consistency. A single expense rarely looks dangerous on its own. $20 here, $50 there, a few hundred for something essential. Each one feels harmless when viewed in isolation, but the math doesn't care how small an expense feels. It only cares how often it repeats. When an expense repeats every month, it becomes permanent. And permanent expenses quietly reshape your financial ceiling. They don't just take money from you once, they claim future income again and again before you ever touch it. Over years, even modest bills can add up to amounts that rival major investments, except these dollars never get a chance to grow. This is where perception fails most people. We naturally focus on large, one-time purchases because they feel significant. But the expenses that do the most damage are the ones that blend into the background. Subscriptions you no longer notice, services you rarely use fully. Slightly higher versions of necessities that feel justified because they don't hurt immediately. Over time, these fixed costs harden your lifestyle. They reduce your ability to adjust when circumstances change. If income dips, bills don't shrink with it. If opportunities appear, your money is already committed elsewhere. Flexibility disappears long before you feel wealthy enough to lose it. This also explains why cutting expenses feels so difficult emotionally. Reducing fixed bills doesn't feel like saving money. It feels like giving something up. Even when the numbers clearly improve your situation, the loss feels immediate while the benefit feels distant. And because humans are wired to avoid short-term discomfort, we often choose familiarity over freedom. As these commitments accumulate, your financial life becomes less about growth and more about maintenance. You're not building towards something new. You're defending what already exists. And the longer this pattern continues, the more normal it feels, even as it quietly limits your future options. This is why monthly bills almost always win. They operate automatically, relentlessly, and without emotion. And unless you consciously design around them, they will continue to dictate how far your money can take you. The moment monthly bills stop winning is the moment you stop treating them as background noise and start seeing them for what they really are, long-term commitments on your future income. Nothing changes overnight, but the math finally becomes visible. And once you see it, it's hard to unsee. The solution isn't extreme frugality or deprivation, it's margin. Progress begins when you deliberately create space between what you earn and what you must spend. That space is what gives money the ability to work for you instead of disappearing on schedule. Even a small gap, if protected consistently, changes the direction of everything. This is why people who build wealth often seem unusually calm about money. Their bills don't consume their entire income. They've designed their financial lives so that saving and investing happen automatically before spending gets a chance to expand. Bills still exist. They just no longer control every decision. Once margin appears, time starts working with you instead of against you. Savings grow. Investments compound. Unexpected expenses become manageable instead of catastrophic. And most importantly, options return. You can adjust, pause, or pivot without everything falling apart. This is the real reason monthly bills feel unbeatable for so long. They aren't evil. They're simply efficient. They claim money first, and unless you reverse that order, they will always win. But when you redesign the structure, when income grows without fixed expenses growing at the same rate, the math flips. Bills shrink in importance, flexibility expands, and money finally stops feeling like something you're constantly chasing. Not because you earn dramatically more overnight, but because you stopped letting yesterday's decisions dictate tomorrow's freedom.